Scott.
All right, so I think this is too strict. So an SREC member or a county chair, I mean, that's fine, we did that already. Approval of 2/3 membership, the reason I have a problem with that is because now you're gonna start having to litigate on every single resolution that gets submitted. The problem with 2/3 membership, or 2/3 or membership requirements or anything like that, as opposed to just the majority, is a lot of counties aren't the greatest about keeping track of that stuff on their votes. Like, a lot of resolutions just pass by voice vote. And so, I mean, sometimes they don't even take a standing vote or a roll call or anything. And so, if a resolution is going to be submitted to the state party after passing through a CEC, then are they also going to have to submit their minutes that show the 2/3 vote, or are they gonna have to do a roll call vote on every single one? Like, Harris County has 200 precinct chairs. We're not doing roll call votes on, like, we probably do half a dozen resolutions at every meeting. We're not doing roll call votes on every single one of those. So, I mean, we have 500 precinct chairs, but about 200 of them show up at every meeting. So, I just think that adds too much complexity. What we're trying to prevent is a random individual or a random precinct chair somewhere from submitting 5 resolutions complaining about their county chair. And like, that's what we've seen. It's been a very particular circumstance that has usually caused that to happen. And I'm fine with a very easy gate to get a resolution through, like it comes from a county chair, or it comes from an SREC member, or it is passed by a county executive committee. Like, that's probably fine. But I think anything more complicated than that is maybe too much. And then when we get to resolutions directed toward a single CEC or its chair, I don't know. I mean, I think at some point the county executive committees need to police themselves and not try and use us to litigate their disputes. And that's probably just a discretion issue that the resolutions committee and the SREC needs to show. But anyway, that's my thoughts on all this. So sorry I'm late. We had a lot of resolutions.
We're not resolution about that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Let me see if I understand. B says directed towards a single CEC, meaning they're the bad guy or girl, and now we are going to censure them. I can't see any other.
No, that we don't censure Republican Party members. We don't. That's in Rule 44. You can't
This
do
is
that.
my point.
And
So
we're
how do
not.
we have
So,
a
and I'm going to be
resolution?
clear
Why would we want to be doing anything like that to even entertain something?
I'm going to be clear. Nothing we're doing here can impact Rule 44. We don't get to take Rule 44. But I just let me be clear about that.
It needs to be a Rule 44 censure that they do. from
I
that.
agree, but I want to be clear about that. Is nothing that we're doing here can touch Rule 44. I'll fight this tooth and nail. That's the will of the delegates. We're not then going to say, well, Rule 44 has to follow this method to come into, because it doesn't say that. It says it comes to the CEC to concur, or the SREC to concur. So we're not going to create a submission process for Rule 44, or this is all out of order in my opinion. So, I'm having a hard time too understanding what a single resolution directed towards a member or a chair is. I don't.
Other than censure.
Other than censure. So again, so Scott's here, so you can ask him what happened to
No,
that.
I wanted to point out to Scott.
Yeah.
What Ray pointed out is why all this got rolling, especially on A, is there is no mechanism. We don't have a rule or anything that says who can submit a resolution. So, and this is something you and I discussed way back when actually part of this was your idea on the first part.
Yeah, and part of it too, so I think the original conflict that led to a lot of this was there was an individual in one of the, like Hidalgo County, I think, who was submitting resolutions like complaining about his county sergeant at arms, complaining about his county, like it was like 7 different resolutions, each one complaining about a different person in his county party. And it's like, this isn't something that needs to be handled at the SREC necessarily. And so I get having a very tiny speed bump for resolutions to get over to maybe keep some of that stuff from being submitted. But I really think we would rather it be easier, not harder, to submit to the resolutions committee, just in case someone has a really good idea that we want to take up. I'll give a different example. The Republican Liberty Caucus of Texas, their state chairman submitted a resolution. We didn't take it up this time, but I think we might in the future, about defending the National Guard, right? Preventing them from being committed to foreign wars. So that's an interesting idea. That might be something we want to take up in the future. And if we do, that wasn't submitted by an SREC, and it wasn't submitted by a county, but it was submitted by someone who has a pretty influential role in how we discuss things as a party. And so, and actually he was on the rules committee with us at convention. So I would still like for the flexibility to be available for people to do that. We just don't want to be spammed by people who are trying to use us to deal with their problems.
I can appreciate the sentiment behind the proposal. I think it may be a solution looking for a problem in a way, because having sat on resolutions either as a member or officer for several terms, you know, there's always going to be someone on the committee. If you can't convince someone on the committee to make the motion on your behalf, then it's not going anywhere anyway. And so to have a strict mechanism that says, well, these people are eligible to submit, seems like a lot of trouble for something that's going to require somebody to make the motion and vote on the motion anyway. So, you know, I've been in situations where maybe I didn't understand a resolution fully, or somebody brought something to me and asked me to advocate for it, and you know, maybe I said, I'm not so sure about that one, maybe someone else can do it. Or maybe I felt semi-strongly about it and I decided I would move the motion in resolution. But, you know, ultimately, if it's going to get past resolution, people on resolutions have to vote for it. So if you can't convince someone on resolutions to take it up, then it's not going anywhere anyway. And so, if you're an SREC member and you receive something from a county chair in your district, I think there's an implied obligation, if there's a good relationship there, to get someone on resolutions to bring it up. I don't think we necessarily need to codify, okay, these are the mechanisms by which it can be brought up when you've got voting members who can move the motion. And if you can't convince one of them to move the motion, how are you going to convince all of them to vote for it? So it just seems like thoughtful language, but maybe, in my opinion, not necessary.
One comment, and with that,
Grace, I recommend.
oh, I'm
Grace.
sorry.
I was going to move to strike B, and I guess change C to B. Just because, or well, not, and after, I guess I have to have a second.
There's a motion to strike B, is there a second?
I'll
Yes.
second that.
Okay. Discussion, Grace?
I totally agree, like, I mean, I see where Chuck's coming from, but I think it might be a very isolated, particular situation that, you know, we maybe doesn't, like, it didn't make it through resolutions committee, that attempt to disparage
Well,
a
it didn't make it.
particular person. And I think that there's enough protections in there. I still think that it is good, like, even in your example, Scott, where you said, you know, some other person, I mean, if it's a great resolution, you could get any SREC member to bring that
Right.
forward, you know? But I think this is just a little too specific to a particular situation, and we just need to, you know, I like having something in there that says who can submit a resolution to sort of pare it all down, but I think that just, it goes too far.
Anybody else want to speak on the motion?
I think when I said originally, B is going to have a 1, 2, 3 is going to cover that 99.99%. And now you can, again, take a principle, you have more words, it creates ambiguities. Oh, what does that mean? So it, less words, fewer words to get your point across, because every word you add creates a potential ambiguity. And now there's going to be a fight about whether A3 and B conflict with each other at some point. Why do you want that? if B's not necessary, just take it out. If it's not necessary to say it, it's necessary not to say it. And so I agree, take it out.
Yeah.
I didn't want to talk on this, sorry.
That's not what we're
No, I know, but since you brought it up, we just.
Well, are you gonna make a motion to strike C? I'll speak to that.
Okay.
After we
I'll-
do this?
Yeah, I'll finish this and then I'll
Okay,
make that
yeah.
motion.
Anybody else want to speak on the motion to strike B? All in favor of striking B, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, that is gone. Your motion?
All right, I'd like to amend A3 and just change approval of 2/3 of membership present and voting to passage at a properly held CEC meeting.
Thank you. I was gonna do that. Thanks.
Really?
Well, I was thinking about that. I was thinking about it. Scott was
So, speak to it.
Pickle first.
Yeah. So it
Do you have a
is,
second?
A second.
Go ahead.
all right, so I don't want the resolutions committee or the SREC micromanaging how county executive committees pass their resolutions. If they pass a resolution and it's got the little signature at the bottom and it's got the, if this passes, send it to the governor and lieutenant governor and all 150 legislators and every member of the SREC and every media outlet at the bottom, then they sent it to us and they passed it. So I think, I don't want to open this up to arguments over whether they got their 2/3 or they did it properly. And that's probably going to speak to part C here in a sec also. But if they pass the resolution, it passed, and that's all we need.
Anybody else?
If I have suggested cleanup, is this the appropriate time to suggest it, since I don't have the computer today and,
Listen, I knew you were gonna sit over there.
yeah.
I'm not good at this.
Well, and I was in resolutions, so,
We'll clean it, let's get all this, because I think we're gonna strike some more, so.
okay. I'll reserve the right
All in
to,
favor of,
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
yes.
What's a properly called CEC meeting? Define properly. It's defined
Well,
here.
properly is defined in their county bylaws.
There you go.
So as long as it matches their county bylaws, it's properly called.
You've been listening to me.
I was the county chair. I was the county chair for 3 years.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
All in favor of the striking insert, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. You're opposed?
No, I wanted to talk about C now.
Moving on,
So,
moving on.
I want to move to strike C. Would you second that?
Yes.
I want to move to strike C.
Now that you're here, who's wanting to get into this?
All right, motion and second to strike C. I'll speak on it. It's
got a
already-
second?
It's,
I said that.
Okay.
it's already covered.
Calm
Now,
down,
to
Jim.
properly call an
That's
executive CEC meeting now. The reason we need to strike it is because we already said county chairs can submit, and now we go back and say if the county chair wants to submit, then he has to go back to his CEC. We're creating a loop here. It just doesn't work. It wouldn't survive any test of ambiguity. I think it needs to go away. Anybody else?
Agreed.
That's why I asked him, because it didn't make sense to me. So I wanted the lawyer's opinion.
It was bothering me, but I don't get to make motions, so I want to make one.
This rule is going to be so great after we get rid of all the structure stuff. Best rule
Sorry,
in the
Chuck.
entire
This is the
bylaw.
resolutions chair.
Anybody else? All in favor of that strike, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Look at that. Pickle principle prevails. Oh, look at that.
There we go. Now,
How clean.
all right, so here's my suggestion, if someone would make the motion. I would cut I would say resolutions may be submitted to the RPT Resolutions Committee by, strike the rest of that before the colon.
say that one more
So it
time.
would read, resolutions may be submitted to the RPT Resolutions Committee by,
1, 2,
colon, an SREC member,
should be an, not a.
an SREC member.
What if we just say SREC member?
A county
It's
chair.
SREC.
Yeah, that's how I would phrase it.
And then take out the period after.
Yeah, after meeting.
Yes, after meeting.
Yeah, I'd have to check how I format those, but in theory, yes.
Let's get
Happy with that?
Yeah.
I think we could do that without any motions. Okay, so that's what we're gonna propose to the membership. Any further discussion on this? We took it from
Member
that.
should be
I think I
capitalized.
got what I wanted.
You got what you wanted.
This is the opposite of.
I mean, the comment,
Oh.
I mean, the comment I will say is, I'm not sure it's necessary.
That's a resolution.
I mean, I trust resolutions committee to handle the flow of resolutions, and vet what's good policy, and take it to the floor or not. So I'm not sure it's necessary, but I appreciate the reason you want it. I mean, I'm not opposed to you doing it, I don't think it's necessary.
It ends up being a very low bar to clear, but maybe there does need to be a little more. So.
And just FYI, Scott, I think you're going to be happy that we put this in because I have 2 people in my SD who are resolution crazy that right now are sending things through me. And would, you might start getting bombarded if this is not in place.
Well, I'd like to
Mr.
see
Chairman?
where it goes. Since you got A, I want to see
Well,
where
it
it goes.
goes, well, and that's what I was gonna leave up to Virgil. I was about to ask you if we could leave it up to Virgil on how to, they wanna kinda dump it in here. You have your copy of, your clean copy of the bylaws, so a document. I'm not even gonna get into formatting, cause so.
I mean, it's,
We always give Virgil the right to format and move.
I mean, I'll use what's on the website. I mean, I've got the Word version of it, but
This is it right here. I'm not sure exactly where to put it. I know you were talking about
It
putting
looks
it
like
right
number
here, but I
4.
don't know if that's.
I mean, it looks like it needs to be in there, but no, you should put it in this one.
Yeah, actually, what
I
Gail
kinda think it
said,
needs to be number 4.
I was thinking that, I think either between 2 and 3 or after 3.
Yeah.
We give all the functions of what the resolutions committee does, and then we say, here's how to submit. I think it kind of flows as number 4. And you have
I'm leaning toward a 4 at this point.
Okay, so without objection, I'm gonna just send Virgil our approved language, which is that, and you wanna make, if you'll make that a new number 4. Does anybody object to that?
Well, yeah, then you're gonna have to make it A, B, and C instead of 4, 1, 4, 2.
Okay.
Yeah,
But you'll clean that.
it'll be a
Does
4 A,
anybody
B, and
object to
C.
that? Yeah, like
Is
Virgil,
this,
I mean,
is this the game?
format, yeah, it is. We're gonna play duck, duck, goose in a minute, 'cause we're cleaning. Okay, so the original motion is, the mechanism of the motion was to add this to the report. Is there any further discussion on adding this to the report? All in favor of adding this to the report, take it to the floor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, we'll report it tomorrow. Virgil, I'll send this to you, if you'll send me something back, just so I can make the report. Our report's gonna be quick.
Awesome.
Others are not. She's an extra time. That's everything I have on the agenda. Is there any further business? Hearing none, any announcements?
Mr. Chairman, I just have a question. Can you please explain to me?
still in order here.
What time is dinner?
We're still in order here.
Can you please explain to me, section 6 minority report and what that means?
Section 6 of,
Of our bylaws, I'm sorry, sir.
well, I'll scroll, section 6 where?
Let's see here. I'm
Hold
sorry.
fine.
Page 7 on my copy.
Yes, it's page 7, article 7, article 7, page, or section 6. One more.
You're close.
Right there.
Look
Go
up.
up, go up, go up, right
There
there.
it is.
Bottom of page 7.
What's the article? Oh,
So it's just speaking of committee members, is
Yeah.
that,
So, if the committee does something and you don't agree with it,
right,
20% threshold of the members don't agree with it, you can submit a minority report.
right?
And it would be considered on the floor as well. as an opposition to what the committee did. So if we killed something in committee, it was yours, you didn't like it, and 20% of that committee agreed with you, then you can take a minority report to the floor, and it would be considered for vote whether to adopt the report or not.
Right.
Now, we still have that function because if any committee's making a report, you can always move to amend that report and try to change it the way you want it. So minority reports, they work really good at convention because the mechanism the committee dies, and they're good to take to the floor. For our purposes in the SREC, I don't think they're necessary, except for the fact that it shows that you had some other support when you brought it and you weren't just making a motion to amend the report on your own. And it would get recognition without having to fight for a microphone to get recognition if somebody would block you for some reason. That would be my opinion. Roger?
I don't recall anyone using that mechanism in the last 10 years.
It's just not necessary, because, you know, if Scott makes a resolutions report and you don't like something on it, a motion to amend that report is in order. And if the membership agrees with you, the report gets amended, and that's how it goes, and gets approved.
The reason I'm asking is because what I've heard, you know, what I hear a lot is that we don't want to take, of course, the place of the CEC and telling them what to do, right? And so I'm wondering, is this something that the grassroots at the CECs, could they do something like this in order for them to have a voice? Because what I'm finding in our counties is that the chair, if he doesn't agree with something, then he gets the majority of the, like he'll stack, you know, the CEC and make sure he talks to them beforehand. They come to the meeting, they're already prepared to vote, and then the minority is never heard. And in this case, I'll give you an example. One of our counties, they wanted to pass the resolution to support the resolution against the impeachment of the Attorney General. So we had some that wanted to do it. The chairman decided to call, of course, all the ones that never show up to the meeting, they all show up and then it didn't pass. So they're like, is there a way that we can get, you know, around that? Because we want our county, we want them to know, so.
I mean, my suggestion would be,
Because there's
get your
no other
people to show
body.
up at the meeting. Like, at the end of the day.
Right, but they're the minority is what I'm saying.
If you've got the chair and a majority of the CEC all on the same page, they're going to get their way, and they should get their way, because they're the majority. Now, the minority has right, like, I think the phrase is always, the majority gets its way, and the minority gets its say, right? So if you're, like, they can't just trample over a minority, but ultimately, if more people vote against a resolution than for it, then they're gonna prevail.
The
Well, no,
fundamental-
I
The
understand.
fundamental principle of our rules of order is to allow the voice of the minority to be heard. That's
Exactly.
why we have a high threshold to call the question and do debate, and think we have higher thresholds to silence the debate. They still get to be heard, but the majority rules, and it's the way all deliberative assemblies are. So, I mean, I agree with Scott. If you want something to happen, then you go get the majority to a meeting, and that's how you get it done. But minority reports, they're not used very often. We see them usually at convention, but they weren't the last convention. That's just because the delegation is so large and the committee is so small. It only gets them, and a minority report, again, just protects the voices, because they only have the right to present the minority report. The majority is still going to decide whether
Right.
they want to adopt it.
Yeah, I understood that. Okay, it was just a question.
Point, I was curious, is anything voted on in a county executive committee meeting where there is another body? Do they have subcommittees before it comes to the, is this a situation where it's not always just one group of people and there's one vote taken? Was there a committee that voted on it and then it came? Because then they're the minority here, but they might be able to impress the majority here.
No,
But if
there
there
was-
is no place to do that, who do you present a minority report
Well, and
to?
that's what a minority report is because a smaller portion of the body decided
Right.
something and prevented it from coming to the full body. So the minority report gets it to the full body to be considered.
But I get what you're saying. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of places that do that, the membership that usually agrees with you is the ones that show up, and then there's a whole bunch of people you haven't seen in the last 6, 8 months or meetings, all of a sudden show up to oppose you. I get it, but there is really no way around that. But there
But they
is
could
nothing,
call it
but
back
there is,
up at the
you know,
next meeting, right?
there is nothing to prevent them from taking that resolution to their SREC member directly. They don't need permission from anybody. If that member wants to take it forward, they can. And, I mean, that would be the option. And we just ratified that idea that they have the ability to do that.
To bring it here? Is that what you just said?
Well, I mean, they bring it to you, you can bring it forward,
No, but at the CC level.
just to adopt a resolution at the CEC level.
Mhm. Yeah.
Majority rules.
Yeah.
Thank you. Minority, that line in minority report, that's just out of Robert's rules.
That was what, I'm sorry?
That's just out of Robert's rules.
Yeah.
There's nothing unique about that line. So yes, your CEC can do that. So,
Any further business announcements? Do you want to make an announcement? The one we were talking about? That's okay if you do.
Yes, okay. This is something I've been thinking about and talking to SREC members for at least 4 years. And that is, I think that we have not properly used our, what is now called the Partnership and Coalitions Committee. And it's been a challenge. It has not fulfilled its potential. And I am going to make an announcement tomorrow in new business that I'm proposing that we, I haven't actually written the motion down, but it is going to be to strike partnerships and coalitions from the bylaws at the December meeting. So that would be the notice that I'm going to bring. And I'm also going to make a motion that we postpone, and this is earlier in the day, before new business, the decision on accepting this new TYR group to the Partnerships and Coalitions Committee.
I'm sorry, say that again. You really what?
That we postpone
Oh, okay.
till December the consideration of the vote
Mhm.
until we make a decision on whether we're going to remove partnership and coalitions as a committee from the bylaws. And I'm just trying to get the word out because it's coming in new business. And
Just a question, does the current chairwoman of coalition and partnerships know your desire, your desire
every
plan?
chairman of partnerships and coalitions going back 3
No, I'm just
No,
making
terms.
current, I just wanna know the current one. The
current
one.
and all the way back.
Okay.
Every chairman has agreed with this.
With getting rid of their committee?
Yes.
They have.
Except for, there was one,
They wanna fire
and
themselves.
they were brand new, and they were so excited about being a chairman on a committee, and they said, oh, please let me have time to get it right, and he didn't get it right, and he knows, so.
The chairman
Yes.
of the last one called me and asked if they could make a motion to dissolve the committee. I said, no, you can't do that.
It's crazy.
It has
What
caused,
was his name?
yeah, I've been here 8 years.
Oh, Sean.
Poor Sean.
So getting rid of the committee is different from getting rid of partnerships and affiliates.
Well, there's no more mechanism for vetting, there's no more mechanism for, giving them money, there's no more, we can form something different. And there is already something different that I've talked to, I found out from that I didn't even know about, where I've been advocating for, let's come together on projects that we agree on, do them together, let's stop all the garbage that happens here, it's such bad PR.
I mean,
So rather than a permanent affiliation, it would be like, we're working with X group on this initiative, we're working with that group on this initiative.
Yes.
I think that's.
Are we-
Okay.
Does anybody have any other announcements for the committee?
Thank you for
Okay,
that.
we stand adjourned. Somebody tell me what time dinner is.
6:30. First grab check.